I'm not a classically trained designer from the standpoint of I didn't go to school for it. I certainly have plenty of art training. I have a degree in physics of all things, so I'm thinking more in a physical world, weights and stresses and contours and textures and that type of thing. But knowing what I know about that and knowing what I've learned about design really comes from how it feels. The mistakes I've made in my design process and the successes I've done in my design process have really brought me to a place that I would love for our industry and most industries in the cosmetic world of how we make things look. So it would be home building, it would be landscaping, and anyone who's contouring and shaping and doing something with the physical world. When we live in that space, what most of us get blinded with when we're the salesman slash designer slash whatever is giving a focal point. A lot of times a customer asks for that because they don't know. They come to you and say, well, we'd like a waterfall over there because if we'd sit right here, it'd be really pretty to see a waterfall, which they're right. But what happens when you're not sitting there? And most of us don't think about that. Most of us think about when they're sitting there looking at that waterfall, that's what they get. Much like a vanishing edge pool is amazing from one spot. Very difficult to pull it off to be amazing from multiple locations and multiple elevations. But a customer doesn't know that. They only see that, and that's what they think they want until you explain, well, here's really how this works, and there's one vantage point. So when it comes to building, what we do is we're looking at it being a 360-degree experience. That no matter where you're at, no matter where you're sitting and congregated and talking and enjoying, we're giving you something visual to look at. And I know this particular homeowner had a real hard time seeing that because most people don't see in 3 dimensions when it comes to design. They see it on paper and then they try to translate it into something they've seen in the world or a picture they looked at, and they don't necessarily see that. Well, as I walked this yard with them, before we even laid the pool out, before the contract was signed, I talked about the vantage points from here. If you're standing here, here's what you're looking at. Oh, we don't think we'll use that, was something they said. And I said, well, but from over here, this will be what it'll look like. Oh, that's kind of neat. And from over here, here's how the waterfall looks. And well, what about when we sit under the deck, we'll be able to see? And those are the types of questions. So I kind of took them through the yard and said, here's why we want to do it this way, and here's what we could do to make it visually interesting. And they didn't really understand, but they knew that I was talking about something that made sense. And they agreed to just do it. That for some reason they would understand based on the videos they'd watched of us and how transparent how we talk about this stuff. They just believe, okay, we'll agree to that. So we start the project and we're building, and we have elevations and we have walls, we have all this stuff going on, and we start building the waterfall from that end, and it's starting to take shape. And for the first time, the homeowner walked around that side of the house. They'd always come down from the normal way that they're always typically going to come down. They came down from the opposite side, and he stopped. And he tells the story on how he just kind of stared, and he realized it was a completely different vantage point. It was a completely different view. And they knew exactly why I had said, we need to put this elevated patio over here because this is going to be a great place to sit. And I had tried to paint the words in a picture form for them, but it took him actually being there and seeing it starting to develop to realize this is a great place to sit, this is a great vantage point. But he got there because he trusted me enough. Now we could have said, oh no, and just eliminate that because they weren't sure, but they trusted me enough to realize that if and when they sat there or they stood there, they would see it. And he made sure that he then brought his wife out the next time and said, come this way so you can see this from the vantage point. And she absolutely agreed, this is the place that we need to be able to sit. So think about, from a design standpoint, all of the places that people will congregate, because rarely is the whole party in the pool. Rarely is everybody that's at the home in the pool at one time. Very, very few times does that happen, but rather people congregate, especially during get-togethers. How can we give people plenty of places to congregate and be a part of something really enriching and unique and basically surrounding them at all times? How can we create a space that really catches them and surrounds them at all times?